following me for a while, you know that we don't focus as much on learning a language quickly and like fluent in whatever amount of time period. Instead, we like to focus on enjoying language learning, doing it long term, being, having reasonable expectations and things like that. So when I saw this ad on my Instagram, okay, so I rolled my eyes at first, but I thought it'd be an interesting little experiment. This webinar is offering 3 strategies to get fluent in Spanish in 3 months. So I thought it would be fun to try to predict what this guy's gonna say in this webinar, watch the webinar, and then see if he's legit, or if he's just kind of peddling BS. If you're new here, hi. My name is Jamie, I'm a language coach, and my job is helping online language learners find the approach and strategies that work for them so that they can stay motivated and consistent in the long term. So if that sounds good to you, make sure to subscribe and hit the bell to be notified when I post a new video every Wednesday. I've been around the online language learning scene for too many years, and so I bet I can predict the 3 strategies that this guy's gonna share. Here's my predictions. Prediction number 1 is a focus on the basic vocabulary and basic verb conjugations. So these are verbs like to be, to want, to have, to go, things like that, conjugated in really simple present tense. And then of course, some basic vocabulary, he, she, street, house, things like that. Basically the first couple thousand words, because generally speaking, all you need are those few thousand core vocabulary words to have most conversations in your target language. And I expect him to say to avoid grammar entirely except for those basic conjugations. Other than that, you don't need grammar, so don't waste your time on it. The second strategy I predict is to consume as much Spanish content as possible. This could mean having tons of conversations, listening to a ton of music, watching a ton of movies or TV shows, just being surrounded and immersed in the language as much as you can for 3 months. Now here's where these strategies could go one of 2 ways. I am predicting the third strategy to either be just be confident with those words and conjugations and practice conversations, practice understanding, things like that. And in these cases, people don't generally say confidence outright, but fluency is a lot of confidence. It's like confidence is like 50% of it, to be honest. So in scenarios when you have fluent in a really tiny amount of time, 30 days, 2 months, whatever it is, it's really just having those couple thousand vocabulary words and being really, really confident and not afraid to make mistakes, not afraid to sound kind of dumb, and trusting that other people won't say anything about it because they will be so excited about you speaking their language. Or the other way that the third strategy could go is to just immerse yourself constantly for those 3 months. Like, this means not having a job, not going to school, not having family, not having anybody to take care of or any other responsibilities. Just like 8 hours a day, every single day of the week, obsessively consuming the language, using the language until you get to a point where you're fluent. This would mean genuinely having a very strong grasp of the language, as long as you have the time commitment, the emotional commitment, all sorts of things. All right, this webinar is starting in 1 minute, so let's see if my predictions are correct. So it's been a few days. Apparently there was a technical difficulty with the webinar, but I finally got a chance to watch the webinar and I have some notes. In the webinar, the 3 strategies are a little different. For one, the first recommendation was to master every verb, tense, and conjugation. All of them. In fact, on the webinar, he claims that you cannot communicate effectively unless you know every single verb conjugation. That is not true at all. It can definitely help to build confidence and be able to express yourself more fluidly and more effectively, but is by no means important, especially if you're trying to be able to communicate in the shortest amount of time possible. The second strategy was to speak as much as possible. So yes, I'm happy with that. That makes total sense. You are not going to be able to speak a language fluently if you don't practice speaking the language. And his third strategy is kind of vague. It's maximize resources / be productive. which by the way, he just kind of uses as a place to recommend certain resources that he likes. He recommends HelloTalk/Tandem for conversation language exchanges, which I agree. He recommends Duolingo with a disclaimer that it shouldn't be a one-off thing. It's fine if you were just kind of like sitting around and want to get 5 minutes of practice in, but that's about it. It's legit. The next two he recommends are Google Translate and Word Reference. I don't like the suggestion for Google Translate. He says that he uses Google Translate to correct his work. Basically, if he wants to say a phrase, and he'll put it into Google Translate and see if Google Translate can understand what he's trying to say, and then use Word Reference for individual words, which I agree with. But above those two recommendations, I would, without a doubt, recommend Spanish Dict. Much better for this. And of course, link below in the description for my review of Spanish Dict, but it's the dictionary, the translator, the verb conjugation lists, the grammar practice that every Spanish learner needs from time to time, especially beginners. When I'm having my Spanish language exchanges and I can't think of a word, I go to Spanish Dict. I don't go to Word Reference, I don't go to Google Translate, I go to Spanish Dict because it is specifically meant for Spanish to English translations, and they rock at it. And his last resource is himself. Okay. I don't really know what to say there. He doesn't really say what it's for or how to, like, he just kind of puts his name in there. Alright, fine. So at the end of the day, was this free webinar legitimate? Did it have effective advice for how to learn fluent Spanish in 3 months? It's effective, but not the best. I'm really stuck on that first suggestion to master every Spanish verb. That is highly unnecessary for conversational fluency. He mentions, for example, that you don't want caveman speak, which is when you say things even though they might not be correct, grammatically correct, but it's for the purpose of communicating an idea, concepts. I think caveman speak is a valid strategy to go about speaking, especially when it comes with making a lot of mistakes. Because when you're doing the caveman speak, you're communicating what it is that you want to say, and then you're also making mistakes that you can learn from. I agree with his second recommendation to speak as much as possible, and the third recommendation for the resources / be productive. They're okay. They could be better. I personally wouldn't invest in this just because this seems to be somebody who did not do well in school with language classes and then learn how to learn languages in a way that works for him, and then he is teaching other people to do the same method. However, if you know me and my channel, you know that I'm a big supporter of whatever method works for whoever, for whatever goals, and helping you to find the method that works for you. If you want to learn more about my coaching program, click the link below in the description to learn more about the method, where I can teach you how to know if this method will work for you or if it won't, or if you like these resources or if you don't, and you can make your own personal decisions for yourself. And if you like this video, make sure you check out these videos next. Otherwise, have a wonderful day, and I will see you next time. Why are there so many planes? Like really loud too. You hear that? We don't talk about Bruno. Oh my god, I was just listening to that song.